6 weeks and 3 days pregnant, and my child's father, all within a day of finding out that I was pregnant, that I may have an ectopic pregnancy, going to the emergency rooms, spending hours and hours and hours getting poked and prodded uterus where they should be, and my hormone levels are where they should be. So within a day of finding all that out, the father of my child said he doesn't want this. He doesn't think this is a good idea, and he wants me to not keep the baby. Let me be very clear that my child's father was very aware of what was going on. This wasn't like nobody was trapped. He repeated over and over and over again how bad he wanted us to have a baby, how bad he wanted me to have a baby, how bad he wanted me to get pregnant.
Did he marry you? Did he put a ring on that finger? If I was talking to somebody I cared about and they were telling me some guy was begging to give him a baby and there was no obligation outside of just that baby, I would tell him, no, that's a horrible idea. What are you talking about? Chances are none of that was in the works. What am I talking about? Them actually marrying before they carry. Yes. And so there's nobody else to blame if you're still falling for this other than yourself. People don't want to hear this, but it is the truth. It is the truth. Why are you agreeing to get yourself involved in this type of situation? You played yourself.
And then I get pregnant and he's like, no. And today he told me, well, listen, you have to get rid of the baby because I'm married. When we got together,
Yo, I didn't expect this. I didn't know this was coming. I know some of you guys were like, well, Chisha, whoa. Plus, he's already married? Wow. You see, if you'd have made that requirement beforehand, then you'd have known that something seems off. Because marrying two people in the United States, having multiple spouses, or polygamy is illegal. You can get angry about it, but that's the law.
Thought we were getting divorced. I had requested a divorce. Things was done, I thought, but that didn't happen. And now I'm trying to work my marriage out. So you cannot have my baby. So now here we are. Keep my stress levels down because one of the reasons they thought it was or wanted to rule out it being ectopic pregnancy was because I was bleeding and still having a little bleeding issues. I'm trying to stay calm, keep the stress down so I don't harm my baby, but I'm just struggling because I'm trying to figure out why I needed this.
That man's a villain. And as of recent, I've realized that there are a lot of some of my subscribers who easily look at a situation like this. They'll see one person who's at fault, of course, this woman, but they suffer from the same thing. They won't acknowledge that there's a second person here who's definitely in the wrong, and that is the married man who's out here getting other women pregnant. And it will be the same men, I just know it, who sit there and go, wow, how dare she? How could she do that? And you hear, oh, well, he was married and he's cheating too. I don't know if I believe this story anymore. I don't know if I believe it. The man's a scumbag, and ma'am, you should have known. And more proof, again, that the single mother epidemic is very real, and more reason to marry before you carry.
Why I needed to be trying to ask God, like, why I needed to be bent and broken and snapped in this way. I was minding my business, y'all. That man was persistent to even get a chance with me.
Yeah, but was he persistent in getting on a knee to marry you?
And we were damn near living together. And then to say, and now my poor baby. I don't want this life for my baby. And you know what? I'm 41. I don't have any children. This is my first child.
Whoa. Hey, she looks pretty good for 41.
I didn't ever even think I wanted any, so I certainly wasn't trying to like. But now it's here. Just married the whole time. Intentionally got me pregnant, and once I got pregnant, told me I don't want nothing to do with this.
May this be a lesson to other women. Guard your womb. If you're a woman out here, guard your womb like your life depends on it, like it's life or death. Because once it happens, you're there. It gets real. I will sometimes look at certain situations, you know, because when you're raising kids, you sit there and you realize, like, okay, yeah, kids are a lot, you know, especially when they're growing really quickly. Like my son right now is starting to like roll around and try to walk at 8 months. And I always think to myself, I have to always keep an eye on him. How do people do this who are a single mom with 5 kids or with 4, 3 kids? These are the things that go through my mind. And why would anyone ever, ever do not do everything they can to avoid being put into that situation? I mean, if you're going to be out here sexual, the first thing is sexual discipline. But if you're going to be out here doing that, then protect yourself, right? Wrap it up. Don't hesitate to take that plan B. Yes. Yes. Top comment here says 6 weeks, girl. And this woman here says like. Somebody else, she says, yeah, 6 weeks with a heartbeat and ultrasound pic, but okay. All right. Somebody else here says, give. Oh, so she responded back. The baby has a heartbeat by now and an ultrasound. Somebody else here says, give full custody to the Lord. Okay. So now here we have these chicks who are encouraging for deletion.
I'm sick.
Let's see what else we have here. Somebody else who says you don't have to have a baby. Here's somebody else who says your feelings are valid 100%. So is an. So far, so they're talking about deleting the baby. Here's somebody else who says, why do we keep choosing struggle? That's a good question. Why do you keep choosing struggle? That's a great question. This chick here says, seriously, at 41. That's interesting. I really skipped over because I saw the 41 thing, and the first thing that came to mind is like, okay, I didn't expect you to say 41. She's 41 years old. At 41 years old, you would think that someone would be making more responsible decisions at this point. Chances are she's messing with the younger guy because that tends to be the cycle with women as they get older, right? They get approached by younger men. Studies to back this up. It's not going to be a great time. Somebody else, she says, I just don't understand. Here's another person who says it's low self-esteem. They want someone to love them and choose to have a baby. Well, maybe that's why you should start earlier, right? Here's somebody else who says, I'll be telling this story to the doctor at the clinic. That person who says, oh, he was married, Control Alt Delete. Here's another person who says, I hope you called the clinic before you called us. And I think people are so quick to assume that everybody doesn't think that deleting a baby is wrong, which is a whole different conversation that we could get into here. But hey, that's it. Of course, guys, curious to know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Moving on.